This Wednesday, April 17th, MLB Betting Picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf, and more. Sign up today using our promo code MLBSGPN to get a 100% deposit match. Plus, the NFL draft is coming up, and Old Fashioned Football is giving away some autographed NFL merch. Head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/off contest. That's OFF contest to enter today. Welcome, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Wednesday, April the 16th, I believe. Yeah, it is. Here to get into the Wednesday card in the MLB. Wednesdays and Thursdays are my usual favorite days when it comes to the baseball season because we get a lot of day action to get us through the day. So here we are. Going to go through the Wednesday card as usual, but joining me here to help me break it all down for the Wednesday card, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, WNBA, NBA, and of course here on the MLB Gambling Podcast, Scott Studi Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing this afternoon?
They're doing pretty well. Looking forward to the nightcap because, of course, we have baseball. We have the play-in game starting in the NBA. But I want to give a quick shout-out, though, to your favorite team because last night I had the Braves team total over. And I want to give a shout-out to new
Let me guess.
member.
Let me guess. Josh Hader.
Yes, I do. I want to give a quick shout-out to Josh Hader, who I think gave up, what was it, 4 straight singles? Or there was,
I believe
I think
so.
it was 4 straight singles, and then they brought in Beal off the bench, but that doesn't matter. I mean, they were screwed at that point. Azuna came through 4 runs in the ninth to get me over the team total 4.5. Thank you, Josh Hader. I appreciate it.
Yeah, how should I put this nicely?
He sucked
for Josh Hader. Yeah, I mean, I think we knew that. I think there was some type of hope that he would have found his form of what he was before he fell off a cliff. But I think those days are maybe gone. But he's cost the Astros at least 5 wins this season. I could count on one hand at least, if not 2 hands. But yeah, glad you got to cash your team total there with the Braves. But this Astros pitching rotation and the bullpen is absolute joke right now. So we'll see if they're able to turn it around sooner rather than later. Fortunately for them, the other teams in the division are, I guess we can say underperforming as well, except for the Oakland A's. I mean, they've been exceeding expectation thus far this season from everybody's standards of what their regular season win total was. But I mean, the Rangers, what they've now dropped, is it 2 in a row now? I know they lost this afternoon to the Tigers. And they're dealing with some injuries.
The Angels have been okay, but they're not supposed to be good, so they'll fall apart at some point.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see if the Astros are able to turn around against still about 16, 17 games in, but still got about 140 plus games to play here. But yeah, definitely I think worrisome for the Astros when it comes to the pitching staff overall. Before we get into the games for the Wednesday card, I think there's just 2 games that are missing pitchers right now. That is going to be for the Milwaukee Brewers, who are hosting the San Diego Padres. And then for the Dodgers, I believe I see an undecided pitcher as well. They're hosting the Nationals, who pulled off the biggest upset thus far this season on the Monday night card. I think they were around a plus. I know they were north of plus 350 at minimum. Were the Nationals, but they got the victory in Dodger Stadium on Monday night, 6-4, I believe was the final score there. So good for the Nationals there. But yeah, missing 2 pitchers, but I think there's lines for 12 of the games here on the card for Wednesday. But before we do dive into it here for the Wednesday card here, I want to remind everybody about the NFL draft that's coming up. And again, if you guys haven't already checked out the Old Fashioned Football Podcast with Mr. J. Mark and Mrs. J. Mark, the star of the show there, you guys are missing out. And they're doing a ton of giveaways in honor of the NFL draft, which is right around the corner. Some autographed merch is up for free. All you got to do to enter is go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/OFF contest. JSN, Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins, Frank Gore, and many more for some autographed merch to celebrate the NFL draft, which is going to be next week. So again, to enter, absolutely free. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/OFF contest to qualify for that autograph merchandise courtesy of the OFF Old Fashioned Football Podcast. Scott, let's get into it, my man. Wednesday, we've got early starts here on the MLB schedule. We'll start with the first game on the board. It is going to be the Twins and is it the Twins, I believe? Yeah, Twins and Baltimore Orioles. It is going to be a 1:05 Eastern start between these two teams. Currently seeing starting pitchers.
Are you sure not skipping the Marlins Giants game? I think that game.
I don't see a line. Do you see a line for that game?
As of right now, no. But I wasn't sure if you didn't have a line. Actually, no. I see Giants minus 120.
Okay.
And I see the Marlins even money. And let me just see if there's a total up. But the Giants are slight favorites. Total of 8.5.
Okay. So that's going to be the first game. Yeah, I didn't see it on DraftKings. I usually drop the lines first, but glad you find that. So let's go back. We'll go to the Giants and the Marlins. It's going to be a 12:10 Eastern start. We've got Kenton Wynn and AJ Puck getting the start here for the Miami Marlins. Scott just read off the lines here. Scott, you want to lead us off with this game between the Giants and the Marlins?
Yeah, I'll take the over on Puck walks in this game. He's got 14 walks in 10 and 2/3. Both pitchers have been really bad, just simply put. You're looking at both of them having 0-3 records. Both of them have ERAs north of 5, but Wynn's ERA is 1.1. His whip, is 1.19, and Puck's is 2.44. A 2.44 whip is kind of impressive for a starting pitcher, and not in a good way. I'm going to lean to the Giants in this one. I don't want to take the Marlins. They're 3-14. They're 1-10 at home. It's the opposite of home field advantage because we know even when the team was decent and made the playoffs in the past, nobody ever went to their games, and now they're really bad. So I don't think home field really matters, and it's why they're 1-10. So I'll go with the Giants. I think Wynn is better than Puck, but it's mostly the Giants actually resembling a real baseball team on, I'd say, an occasional basis. The Marlins look like the worst team in the league right now, and that tells you how bad they actually are. They can't hit. The pitching's been a mess. The whole team's injured at this point in the rotation. So give me the Giants. I think 120 is a bit cheap for this number. I'll keep fading Miami until they look even somewhat competent. Give me the Giants at a cheap price.
Yeah, the Marlins have lost all 3 starts that AJ Puck has made, and you mentioned the walks. 10 2/3 innings pitched, 14 walks he's given up in that span, 12 hits, 7 earned runs. The last game he was against the Yankees, and I think it was that first inning where I want to say it was the first or second inning, the Yankees had the bases loaded, if I'm not mistaken, and they weren't able to cash in. And there were several other opportunities there before AJ Puck left the game. But I think that, for this Giants team, I think that's something they should be able to take advantage of. Even if they're not, yesterday was a prime example. As you know, we talked about the Astros having a bad bullpen. The Marlins are right there with this Astros team in the league. And they had a 3-0 lead on the Monday night card, and the Giants came back, and I believe they won that game 4-3, courtesy of how bad this bullpen is. So I'm right there with you. I would look at the Giants only in the spot against the Miami Marlins. Now getting over to the other 12:10 start, we've got the Minnesota Twins. They are taking on the Baltimore Orioles in this game. Starting pitchers for this game, I am seeing Pablo Lopez for the Minnesota Twins, and Tyler Wells gets a start here for the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles are, it's actually minus 110 on both sides for this matchup. Total is set at 8 in this game. Let me go over to FanDuel because they do a better job of actually giving us run lines because we like, at least I do, picking for our best bet. Oh, sorry, for our lock and dog. All right. Excuse me. So the run line is, let's see, that's today's. Let me scroll down here. Here we go. All right. So overall on FanDuel, the Twins are actually favored minus 116, and the Baltimore Orioles are minus 102. Minus 1.5 plus 146 for the Twins, and plus 1.5 minus 176 for the Baltimore Orioles. Scott, Twins and Orioles, Lopez versus Wells.
Well, I mean, we know Baltimore's the better team. Minnesota is a member of the AL Central, which means they got a shot to win the division, even if they're below 500 by the end
Mhm.
of the year. But Lopez was supposed to be a potential Cy Young candidate, and he has been not particularly great this season. 1-2 record, 4.86 ERA. Yeah, you're looking at his overall numbers, giving up 2 home runs this season. You walk 3 guys, which is kind of rare in his last start against Detroit. I think for this one though, I'm going to lean to the Twins' first 5. I'm not a Wells guy at all. I think that Lopez is definitely the better pitcher. You can argue that once again, maybe the value is actually on Baltimore because Lopez is an overvalued commodity because he's not been very good this season.
Mhm.
I disagree though. I think Wells is his numbers are bad, but that's because I don't think he's that good. So I think that his numbers actually make a lot more sense. Lopez, I think we'd agree, is a very solid starting pitcher. He's just gotten off to a bad start. So
Yeah.
based on the overall form of both guys, I think the Lopez one is more likely to regress to the mean in a positive way.
Mhm.
Wells, I just don't think is that great, and I think that his stuff isn't that dynamic. He's had, for example, less than 4 strikeouts in back-to-back starts. I just feel like he is going to pitch to contact most of the time. Minnesota strikes out a lot, so maybe that can kind of fluctuate. We'll see what happens, but I do think Minnesota can get enough barrels on balls to get a lead. And I think Lopez will do a good job of keeping the ball in the ballpark. So I'll go with Minnesota. First 5. Give me Lopez.
Yeah, Wells has been subpar to say the least. He's allowed at least 3 earned runs in all 3 starts this season, and the Orioles have lost all 3 of his starts that he's made thus far this season as well. You mentioned the strikeout issues there, and again, maybe that might be a cure in this game for him because, like you mentioned, the Twins do strike out a lot, but he's allowed at least a home run in every single start that he's made as well. So yeah, again, it's Pablo Lopez. He had a pretty good start last year against this Orioles team. 6 innings pitched, only allowed 1 earned run, which was a solo home run. 6 strikeouts in that game. Did have 3 walks, but I think, yeah, I'm with you. I would look at the Twins first 5, or even if you want to go full game, Twins in this spot. I do like the better pitcher on the mound here for the Minnesota Twins. 110 Eastern start. We've got the Texas Rangers. They are going to be facing the Detroit Tigers in this spot here. I am currently seeing that. Let me see. Go back to the page here. Word Detroit Tigers. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So Dane Dunning gets to start here for the Detroit Tigers. Sorry, for the Texas Rangers. And Tarek Skubal gets to start for the Tigers. So Dane Dunning for the Rangers, Tarek Skubal for the Detroit Tigers. Lines for this game. The Tigers are a minus 148 home favorite, plus 124 on the money line for the Rangers. Total is set at 7.5 in this game here. Scott, Tarek Skubal off to a pretty decent start here for the Detroit Tigers, who are looking pretty good coming out of, or to start the season here at least. And you talked about the AL Central Division. Definitely going to be up for grabs here. But Tarek Skubal at home here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Screwball had one of the lower odds to actually win the AL Cy Young, and I kind of wanted to see a bit more body of work before I was willing to buy into that hype. I buy into it. He's really good, just simply put. So I think Screwball definitely is the better pitcher here. Dunning's record's okay. His ERA is not great, so it tells me he's getting run support. I guess the question is, do you really want to lay 145, give or take, with a team that's not very good offensively? And we know Texas is 500 right now, but they're the defending champions. We know this team's very talented. They can score runs in bunches. And I feel like a lot of people might take Scooball based on how good he's been. I think I'm going to lean to Texas. The idea of getting about plus 125 with a much better offense, this game should be close throughout unless Dunning gets absolutely shelled. I don't see that happening. Maybe Texas trails early. They might be able to come from behind. But getting the much better offense at a pretty good plus money price of plus 125, I think is pretty appealing. I understand that Scooball is a very solid pitcher. He's better than Dunning. I don't want to lay 145 with a Detroit team that I think we'd agree isn't the greatest offensively.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lean to Texas plus money.
Yeah, and you just take a look at the offenses that he's faced thus far this season. It's been the White Sox, it's been the A's, where he gave up 4 earned runs in that game and 2 home runs to the A's, and then he faced the Twins in his last start. Also gave up 2 walks in that game, back-to-back games where he's given up 2 walks. I think at some point this Texas Rangers offense is gonna, I think, play up to their expectations. I know they've been dealing with some injuries in their lineup and things like that. You take a look at Dane Dunning; he's allowed at least 3 earned runs in every single start this season, but 2 of those games were against the Houston Astros, and I know that when they usually face Dane Dunning, they at least offensively do pretty well against him. And also walks are a concern for him as well. I feel like this total 7.5, and I also need to do check the weather. It might be a little conservative. I do think that maybe if you look at a first 5 over in this game, I couldn't talk you off of that. I think both guys are susceptible to giving up a couple runs each. So if it's like a 2-2 game, I think that'll get you over either a push or the over in the first 5. So I would look at a first 5 over in this game. I'm with you at a minus 148 price for Schoolball against the Texas Ranger. It might be a bit of a stretch there. So I think that's a good value on the Rangers in this game. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to another 110 Eastern start. We've got the Pittsburgh Pirates. They are in Citi Field to take on the Mets. Currently, I am seeing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, the starter is going to be Bailey Falter. And for the New York Mets, it's going to be Luis Severino. Currently, as it stands, the Mets are also a minus 142 home favorite and plus 120 on the money line for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Total is set at 8.5 in this game here, Scott. We got Bailey Falter versus Luis Severino.
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the Mets here. I saw Severino pitch against the Royals on Friday. He looked really good. I ended up walking some guys, but I think he had a one-hitter in 5 innings, and they ended up getting the job done. I think he's better than Falter. Falter's been okay this season. I think we'd agree he's vanilla. He's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really anything worth writing home about. I think for the sake of this matchup, though, I'm going to stick with the player prop I mentioned with Mal on the Friday show last week. Yeah, I'm going to keep taking Mets starting pitchers under their outs. It's cashed basically every game for the last 2 weeks. This team does not let their starters go more than 5 innings. Or when they do, it's never 6. I think out of all the games that they've actually had this season, which is 16, I'm pretty sure 14 of the 16 starters have gone under 17.5 outs. And Severino last start was set at 17.5. He threw a one-hitter, and he still only went 5 innings. So I'll keep riding it. I mentioned it, and it's cashed every single game after I mentioned it. So I'm going to keep riding it. Give me Severino under and outs.
Yeah, Severino, 5 innings in each of his 3 starts. He's also gotten the run support as well, shockingly, in all 3 of his starts. Unfortunately, the Mets have lost 2 of his last 3 starts.
They won the last one, though.
I'm sorry, they lost the first 2 starts that he did make. The first start against the Brewers, but again, the Brewers now are one of the best offenses in the entire league, at least thus far this season. And then he held the Reds to only 1 earned run, and then to the Royals 1 earned run as well. You mentioned the walks; that may be a little bit of a concern here for him. Bailey Falter's actually been, I think he's been pretty good in back-to-back starts. I know he had a bad start against the Marlins there. We allowed 6 earned runs, but I think it's pretty telling when he was able to hold both the Phillies offense and the Orioles offense to 5 total hits, 1 earned run, 11 innings pitched combined in those 2 starts against those 2 offenses. So, yeah, I'll lean here with the Pirates. I don't love it. The Mets, I mean, anytime I bet on this Mets team, it always goes the wrong way for me. And then when I bet against them, they end up winning the games. Case in point, yesterday, where I did have the Pirates, they were up 3-0, and then the only to lose the Mets by, I think, 5-4 or 5-3, something like that. So I'll lean with the Pirates here. Nothing that I do love as far as putting my money on this. I will be staying away from this game for sure. All right, Scott, before we get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports, and you can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. Scott and I, we had a lot of success on the NBA pod with our Underdog fantasy entries. We usually, again, we do record a day here earlier for the MLB, so we're probably going to start doing is putting out some videos with our Underdog fantasy entries for the MLB card. And also, Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash, airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out for that. And there is a pick'em special for this Friday play-in games on April 19th for the NBA. The player is a TBD. So again, you want to make sure you're following Underdog Picks for that player. The special should go live in the lobby for eligible new customers that sign up by the morning of April 18th. So what you got to do is just make it simple. If you don't have an account already with Underdog Fantasy, just sign up. Make sure you do that by April 18th so you can take advantage of that pick'em special for that Friday game in the NBA. And use our promo code MLBSGPN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy using promo code MLBSGPN. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to where do we want to go? I think that's all the 1:10 Eastern starts. Let's go to a 2:10 Eastern start. The Kansas City Royals, they are in Chicago to take on the White Sox. Currently, as it stands, it will be Michael Wacha getting the start here for the Kansas City Royals, and Eric Fedde gets to start here for the Kansas City Royals. Sorry, Eric Fedde will be starting for the White Sox. I'm sorry. Yeah. Looking at the lines for this game, I am currently seeing the Royals are a minus 192 road favorite. What a world we are in, where the Royals are now close to a $2 road favorite, rightfully so, because the Chicago White Sox absolutely stink. Plus 160 on the money line for the Chicago White Sox. Total is set at 8.5 in this game here, Scott. We've got Wacha versus Fedde.
Yeah, I said a couple weeks ago, and I stand by it. This White Sox team is going to lose 120 plus games. This is one of the worst teams assembled I've seen in a long time, and they're going to lose a lot of games. So, yeah, I understand why the Royals are laying this big of a price. Am I going to take it? Probably not. I don't trust Wacha enough. Wacha was actually the pitcher that got shelled in that Mets game on Friday. He did not pitch well at all.
Nope.
You're looking at Fedde, who's been okay so far this season, but in general, we saw him with Washington. He pitches to contact. It can be a bit messy at times. I like the over in the game that involves back in the White Sox offense, which is kind of scary, but it is a pretty low team total, though, since the line is that big. You're looking at the White Sox probably being around, what is it, like a 2.5 team total? 3.5?
I would probably say 3.5.
You might be able to find a juice
Sox.
2.5, like
Yeah.
very potentially a plus money 3.5, maybe. I don't mind that for this. I don't think Wacha's that good. I think that you're looking at the White Sox not having a good team, but maybe they can step up and hit some home runs against Wacha. We'll see. But I have recognized that Fedde does struggle with the long ball. He's given up 5 home runs already this season in 14 2/3. So I think you're looking at an over. I will lean to the White Sox team total over, but I don't want to lay this with Kansas City. I just don't think there's much value.
Yeah, maybe I'll look at the over in this game. I mean, you mentioned, right, Michael Wacha has been up and down. He did have his start this season against his White Sox team, 7 shutout innings, only allowed 2 hits and 8 strikeouts. Eric Fedde is a guy I don't trust at all. I mean, this was a guy that anytime we saw him on the
Nationals, he was not very
on the Nationals, he's just absolute fade material. And he had a bad start in his last game against the Cleveland Guardians. 5 innings, allowed 4 earned runs. 3 of the 4 hits that he gave up were home runs. And again, when you're going up against a team, like the Kansas City Royals that kind of do have that firepower, I mean, they can hit some of those home runs. So I want to be opposed to looking at it over in this game. Again, definitely check out the weather, which way the wind is going to be blowing this game. But I think over 8.5 might be a look here between the Royals and the White Sox. Next game on the schedule, another 2:10 Eastern start. We've got the Houston Astros. They are going to be hosting the Atlanta Braves at the Juice Box. Currently, as it stands, I see Max Fried is going to get the start here for the Atlanta Braves, and JP France is on the mound here for the Houston Astros. Lines for this game, the Astros are a plus 124 home underdog, minus 148 on the money line for the Atlanta Braves. Total is set at 9 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on Max Fried versus JP France?
Fried was really good his last time out. I know he struggled in his first outing. Well, good against the Marlins, but you're looking at his record. He's 1-0 with an 8+ ERA, so I guess he's got a bunch of run support. As for France, he has not been good. 0-2, 8.22 ERA. Honestly, I might just go back to Braves team total. It ended up working out yesterday. I got lucky with it, but you still take it. Point is, the Astros rotation has been okay at best, and the bullpen's been a mess. So if I'm looking at which angle to go for in the spot, I think Braves team total is worth a look. They are either they're tied for first in runs per game, or they're definitely top 3. But the point is, they have been objectively solid, like they are every year. And France, I think you'd agree with, is an interesting pitcher, but he has not looked very good this season. And the bullpen's been really bad for Houston. So I'll keep fading the Houston pitching staff. Give me the Braves offense to do some damage. Give me the Braves team total over in this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that or even the full game over in this game. I mean, you mentioned JP France has been absolutely atrocious thus far this season. He's allowed at least 3 earned runs in every single start. He had a really bad start his last start against the Texas Rangers, where he allowed 8 earned runs, 4 walks in that game.
Yeah, he's
And
walked
now
7 guys. 7 guys
yeah,
in 15 to third. He's got command issues so far this
yeah,
year.
and again, he's also faced a murderer's row when he's the opposition that he's gone up against. It's been the Yankees, the Rangers twice, and now you get the Atlanta Braves, who are absolutely raking as well. Max Fried, again, I backed him in his last start because it was against the Marlins, and Marlins are not very good against left-handed pitching, but it's the completely opposite for this Astros team, where they have been very good against left-handed pitching. So, again, I want to be opposed to seeing runs being put up in this game. I do believe that this could get over the 9. I don't hate your call on the Braves team total over, whether you want to take that in the first 5 or the full game, but I do like the over 9 in this game between Max Fried and JP France. Couldn't put my money right now on JP France at all. I mean, we just talked about he's just been absolutely terrible for this Houston Astros. And again, the bullpen hasn't been much better either. So I will take, I would lean towards the Braves as far as a side here, but do love the over 9 in this game between the Braves and the Astros. Next game on the schedule will be a 3:07 Eastern start between the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. Currently seeing Marcus Stroman is going to get the start here for the New York Yankees, and for the Toronto Blue Jays, it will be Kevin Gausman. Lines for this game is minus 105 for the Yankees and minus 115 for the Toronto Blue Jays. Total is set at 8 in this game. Marcus Stroman going back to face his former team, and Kevin Gausman has been a gas can to start the least here, Scott. But what do you think about your Yankees versus the Blue Jays?
Yeah, the Yankees are kind of a weird team because they're 12-5. I've still been happy overall, but looking at the offense recently, they've been a bit underwhelming. Soto's been very good, and Volpe's been great. So those are the 2 bright spots.
Yeah.
You're really going down the line, and the rest of the offense hasn't been that great. Judge has been underwhelming. Stanton's been underwhelming. He's got 4 home runs, but watching Stanton play, trust me, he has been he just has a classic Stanton bats. He's down 0-2 in every count, and he swings out of his shoes every time. You know what I'm talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
Stanton hasn't been that great. Rizzo's been a mess. Rizzo might be washed. That's a whole separate story. Rizzo's been really bad. Even in the field, I think he has 4 errors already this season. But just going down the line, the Yankees offense has been really fine. They've been winning games, but I think I'm going to lean to the under, actually. I know Gausman has not been particularly good this season, but I do think the Yankees might struggle against them. Meanwhile, Stroman's been very good. He's 1-1, but he has an ERA of 2.12. He's been solid. I'll lean to the under in this game. It's at 8.5, but it's mostly looking at the Yankees offense recently and not being overly impressed. I think that even if Gausman does pitch okay, I think Stroman can once again get by. I'm going to lean to the under in this game. The Yankees offense has been fine, but when you actually look under the hood, there's a lot of guys on this lineup that have really not put together many good at-bats recently. I'll lean to the under.
I think we'll find out how bad Kevin Gausman is in this game against this Yankees offense. Because like I mentioned, it's been a struggle to say the least for him to start the season here. Marcus Stroman did start against the Blue Jays back on
Yeah,
April 5th.
he gave up 1 run or no? I think it was no runs in that
Yeah,
start.
he didn't give up anything. He 6 shutout
Yeah.
innings. He only allowed 3 hits, 6 strikeouts in that game. So that was a really good start for him. He also faced them back in 2022. 5 innings there when he was with the Cubs. He only allowed 1 earned run in that game. So he's had a really good history against this Blue Jays team and his former team. So again, I need to see it from Kevin Gausman before I can back him. I mean, he's allowed 11 earned runs in just 14 innings pitched over his last 2 starts. He hasn't made it to the 5th inning in any of his 3 starts thus far this season. Again, he did face his Yankees team as well back on April 6th. Where he gave up 5 earned runs, 1 and 1/3 inning in that game, 2 home runs, 2 walks in that game. So all sided with the Yankees here. I think that, again, like you mentioned, I think Stroman can get by here. I think they can do enough offensively. Can the Yankees to get to Kevin Gausman in this game? So -105 for me on the New York Yankees. 3:37 Eastern start. We've got the St. Louis Cardinals. They are in Oakland to take on the Oakland A's. For this game, I am currently seeing it will be Paul Blackburn Day for the Oakland A's, and Steven Matz gets a start here for the St. Louis Cardinals. Looking at the lines for this game, the Cardinals are a -155 road favorite here, +130 on the money line for the Oakland A's. Total is set at 8 in this game. Everybody already knows where I'm going with this game, Scott, but I'll let you lead it off.
Yeah, for this one, I mean, Oakland's actually been okay so far this season, at least compared to what we thought they were going to be. They called up Ruiz again, and he homered in his first at bat, which is kind of funny. As for the actual matchup itself, Lance Lynn's been good this season, just objectively. Sears, former Yankee prospect, has been up and down. He's been that way his entire career. I think I'm going to link to St. Louis. Lynn has been fine so far this season, but you can argue maybe it's a bit fluky because his whip is actually higher than Sears, and his ERA is about 2.5 points lower. So maybe there's some room for regression negatively for Lynn. I'm going to link to the Cardinals, though. I just think at the end of the day, the A's have perfected the art of losing by basically 1 run or losing very close games. But offensively, they've been really, really bad. They've won a lot of low-scoring games. Just to go through the last couple of scores for the A's, they lost 3-1 yesterday. They beat the Nationals 7-6 the day prior. They lost 3-1. They won 2-0. They won 1-0. So that means that the A's have scored less than 3 runs in 4 of their last 5 games. So I think Lynn pitches pretty well here. I'll lean to the under, maybe A's team total under. But when you've scored less than 3 runs in 4 of the last 5, I'm not going to put faith in your offense. I'll lean to the Cardinals.
So I am seeing Steven Matz is starting here. Are you seeing something different for the Cardinals?
Oh, was I looking at tonight? Apologies. I might have been looking at tonight.
Sorry. Yeah, let me make sure.
I think Lynn is pitching tonight. Yeah, I think you got that right.
Yeah. So, Lynn and Sears are tonight, and then we got Blackburn and Steven Matz.
I still like the under, but I guess I got to take the A's now. That changes everything. But yeah, I'll lean to the under. My point doesn't change about the A's not being able to hit. Apologies, though. I accidentally had the wrong pitching matchup.
No, you're good.
But yeah, Blackburn's been great. Just simply put, he's the only bright spot in this entire rotation at this point, besides other rotation. I still really like their bullpen, especially Mason, who's been really, really good as the closer. But I am going to lean to the A's here because you mentioned Blackburn being great. He hasn't given up a run yet. I do like the under, though. The A's can't hit. That hasn't changed. So give me the under and give me another standard 3-2 type game in Oakland, which we see a lot of.
Yeah, I think that as much as I want to take the A's full game, I'll probably just take them in the first 5 innings. I mean, like we mentioned, Paul Blackburn, 19 and 1/3 innings pitched, 0 earned runs allowed. Now, could this be the game where he regresses in a negative way? Possibly, but I mean, again, you can't ignore it. And he hasn't faced maybe the greatest offenses. It's been the Guardians, it's been the Tigers, it's been the Nationals. So, I mean, it hasn't been murderer's row, for example, where JP France would have to go up against the Yankees and the Rangers twice. So, but again, you pitch who's in front of you. But yeah, again, it's Paul Blackburn Day. I'm going to take Paul Blackburn, split a unit again, first 5 innings money line or run line for the A's, and then the full game on the under on the plus price here for Paul Blackburn as well. So again, sooner or later, somebody's going to be calling the A's for Paul Blackburn, and I think there's several teams out there that can definitely use his services for sure. But again, until he's in an Oakland A's uniform, I will continue backing him, especially when he's at a plus price here for the Oakland A's against the St. Louis Cardinals. 3:40 Eastern start. We have the Chicago Cubbies. They are in Arizona to take on the Diamondbacks in this game. I'm currently seeing Brennan Pfaadt going to start here for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Jordan Wicks is on the mound here for the Chicago Cubs. Diamondbacks are a slight home favorite, minus 118 on the money line, minus 102 on the money line for the Chicago Cubs. Total is set at 9.5 in this game with juice towards the under at minus 115. Here, Scott. Got Jordan Wicks versus Brendan Pfaadt. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Cubs in this one. They're my pick to win the division. The Diamondbacks so far this season have been underwhelming. I feel like we see year in, year out, there's a team that kind of makes a surprise run to a World Series or maybe a deep playoff run. And you expect them to potentially keep it together, and they immediately fall apart. Now, it's still early in the season, and the Diamondbacks are 8-9, but watching this team play, I have not been overly impressed with the lineup, especially in late game situations. So far this season, Wicks has been a mess. Pfaadt's been a mess. I'm going to lean to the over in this game. I see runs. For value alone, I guess I'm going to flip a coin and lean to the Cubs because I just think even money on a coin flip is worth it. But I'm going to lean over. Both pitchers have really not been good so far this season. So, yeah, I'll lean Cubs. At least they have Michael Busch on their team. That counts for something. So I'll take the Cubs to potentially get the job done.
Yeah, I can't put my money on Brendan Pfaadt right now, especially the way that he's been pitching. Even dating back to last year. I know he had a pretty decent run in the postseason for the Diamondbacks, but anytime he's at home, he's just been an absolute gas can. Did have a great start against the Rockies, but that was at home against the Rockies team on the road. But last two starts against Atlanta and St. Louis, he's allowed 11 earned runs and 11 and 2/3 innings pitched, 15 hits he's allowed, 3 home runs, 3 walks, and 11 strikeouts in those games combined. And I think the Cubs are a more than capable offense, and they've been doing real well thus far this season. Have the Cubbies, and again, you mentioned Jordan Wicks as well. He's had his struggles as well. He's allowed at least 2 earned runs in every single start. He had his worst start was the last start, which was against the Seattle Mariners. 4 innings pitched, he allowed 4 earned runs, and has just been struggling on the road thus far this season. And 2 road starts, 6 earned runs allowed, and just 8 innings pitched. So I'm with you. I think this might be my favorite play of the day is the over 9.5 in this game between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. As far as the side, I'm with you. I would be with the Cubby side here as well. Again, I'm not putting my money on Brendan Pfaadt in this spot here, going up against any team for that matter. So I see a plus 102 right now on FanDuel if you want to get some plus money for the Chicago Cubs compared to the minus 102 right now over on DraftKings. Next game on the schedule, let's go over to a 4:10 Eastern start. The Cincinnati Reds, they are going to be taking on the Seattle Mariners in this game. Currently for this game, I am seeing Andrew Abbott is going to start here for the Cincinnati Reds, and Bryce Miller is on the mound for the Seattle Mariners. Lines for this game, the Reds are a plus 110 road underdog, minus 130 on the money line for the Seattle Mariners. Total is set at 8 in this game here, Scott. What are we thinking about Andrew Abbott versus Bryce Miller here?
Yeah, I think that just for the sake of best bet territory for this game, I really don't mind the strikeouts for both pitchers. These teams strike out a ton.
Yeah.
Just simply put, the Mariners strike out. I think it's more than any other team in the league. And the Reds are definitely in, I think it's the top 5. I don't exactly know where it is. Let me just quickly pull that up. But both teams strike out a lot. Seattle's towards the top of the league every year in strikeouts. So I think Abbott and Miller might put on a show. We'll see what happens. They've been good this season. I think Miller's better than Abbott if I had to personally I'd say power rank those 2 pitchers. But I mean, so far this season, Oakland actually did pass Seattle. Seattle is currently the 3rd most in the league. They are averaging 10.24 strikeouts per game. Cincinnati ranks 24th. So you're looking at the overall numbers here. That means Seattle is currently the 7th most strikeouts per game. So I don't mind maybe a same game parlay on strikeouts, but I think each guy might get to 7, maybe more. Go from there. I don't mind a first 5 under.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at that strikeout numbers. So Seattle's number 2 and Cincinnati's at number 6. Um, but Andrew Abbott's left-handed pitcher, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yep.
But yeah, he's been pretty good to start the season, right? 17 and a third innings pitch. He's only allowed 5 earned runs. Faced the Phillies, the Mets, and the White Sox in that span. 2.60 ERA. And like you mentioned, Bryce Miller has also been pretty good. He did have a rough first start against the Red Sox, but bounced back very nicely over his last 2 starts, which was against the Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. 13 and 1/3 innings pitched, no earned runs allowed. 11 strikeouts to 4 walks. So walks may be a little bit of a concern here for Bryce Miller, but when you have a team that, strikes out a lot, they may be chasing pitches that are, out of the zone, and they rack up the strikeouts that way. So couldn't talk you off of the under in this game. I'll lean with the home team here. Again, this could be a low scoring game, something in the neighborhood of like a 3-1, 4-2 type of victory for the Seattle Mariners. So Mariners for me, but I do like your call about those strikeouts for both of these pitchers. 6:05 Eastern start. We've got the Colorado Rockies. They are in Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. Currently, as it stands, the pitching matchup for this game I'm currently seeing for the Rockies, it will be Ryan Feltner, and then we got Christopher Sanchez on the mound here for the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies are a minus 218 home favorite, plus 180 on the money line for the Colorado Rockies. Total is set at 8.5 in this game, with a little bit of juice towards the under at minus 115 here. Scott, we got Feltner versus Christopher Sanchez. What are you thinking?
For this one, I think I'm going to lean to the Rockies. We saw the game go to extras. They had a hard time hitting uh, Quantrill, who we know is awful. So
Yeah.
Philly's been overvalued for most of the season. We know that this is a very home run dependent ball club. It's why he roasted them in the playoffs and why they eventually lost, because they can only generate runs via home run. And right now, we're in the early portion of the season where the ball maybe is not carrying as much as it does later in the season. So people are kind of panicking about the Phillies. I'm not. They'll figure it out. I feel like they usually get off to slow starts, but the Rockies are a bad baseball team. Obviously, they're 2-9 on the road. When are they ever good away from Coors Field? But I do think plus 180 is intriguing. I think it's a pretty decent price. I think Feltner and Sanchez, you could argue, are pretty comparable. And maybe you're afraid of the Rockies bullpen, so maybe you want to go Rockies first 5. But I'm going to lean Colorado here. I think 215 for a team that's been struggling offensively recently is kind of an insane price. Give me the Rockies for the value.
Yeah, Ryan Felder's actually been pretty good this far this
Yeah.
season. He just had one bad start in his first start against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Was last 2 starts, 11 innings, pitched 3 earned runs. Walks are a little bit of concern. He's at least allowed. He's given up exactly 2 walks in all 3 starts. But like you mentioned, this Phillies team, the only time I'm backing him is when I see pretty much Zach Wheeler on the mound. Even Aaron Nola's been a little bit underwhelming for this Phillies rotation. But a lot of times I've said that the time to back the Rockies is at home, but again, right now the Phillies, like you mentioned, they're struggling offensively. Christopher Sanchez, another guy that gives up walks as well, and for these teams like the Rockies, there's going to be a time where it will come to bite you in the ass, and I think that might be a possibility here against the Rockies team that has been feisty, right? And again, they could steal one here, so I think the value is definitely on the Rockies here. I can't lay a minus 218 price on Christopher Sanchez. I think Aaron Nola was this price the other night as well. So yeah, Rockies would be the way I would look here at a plus 180 price. 6:50 Eastern start. We've got the LA Angels. They are taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Currently, as it stands, I am currently seeing the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be starting. Let's see here. This was the one game. Okay, so it just popped up. Zach Littell is going to start here for the Tampa Bay Rays, and Reed Detmers is on the mound here for the LA Angels. Lines for this game: the Rays are a minus 125 home favorite, plus 105 on the money line for the Angels. Total is set at 8 in this game here. Scott, what are we thinking?
Yeah, both pitchers have been really, really good. Littell's got a 1.17 ERA, and Detmer said, "Hold my beer." I have a 1.04 ERA. So both pitchers have been really good. Detmers, I was never a big fan of. I know he had the no hitter, I don't think he had 2, right? He was close to a second one, but I don't think he
He
closed it,
was,
right?
yeah. He just had
Okay.
that one. Yeah.
That was against Texas last year, I think. Anyway, point is Detmer's been really good, and Littell's been good too. So give me the under in this game. Don't really have much more to add. Both starters have been good. I have questions about both offenses. Mostly, I Trout homers only when nobody's on base, which is a problem. But I'll lean to the under in this game. It's at around 7.5. Maybe wait till it gets to 8. But I like both starters, so give me the under.
I think Mike Trout yesterday was the first game where he hit a home run with a runner on base, if
I
I'm
think it
not
happened early.
mistaken.
I think it's the
Oh,
second
he did
time,
one have
but
against the Rays. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He had one against the
I
Rays.
think though it was the first time. I think I saw this on Twitter. I don't know if it was true or not. It was
Mhm.
the first time that Trout's hit a home run with Rendon on base with his time on the Angels. I think I saw that. It's
Oh
been like
boy,
over 1,000 days or something since
that's
he
wild.
homered with Rendon on base. So
Um, but yeah, you're right. There is an 8 right now for this total over on DraftKings if you want to get on that. Again, like you mentioned, both these pitchers have been lights out. Littell actually faced the Angels in his last start, 4 and a third innings, 6 hits he allowed, 1 earned run. Did have 3 walks in that game and 4 strikeouts, but the bullpen was able to bail him out. And I mean, like you mentioned, Reed Detmers has been absolutely phenomenal. 17 and 1/3 innings pitched. He's only allowed 2 earned runs, 6 walks, 26 strikeouts in that span as well. I kind of want to see where the Rays are as far as going up against left-handed pitching and their team strikeout percentage here. Let me see. They're actually number 9. And Reed Detmers hasn't faced this Rays team this season yet. So maybe if you want to look at a strikeout prop for Reed Detmers, he's had at least 7 strikeouts in all 3 starts. He did have 12 against the Boston Red Sox in a start earlier this season as well. So first 5 under. This game probably zips through if there's not much happening on the bases and how dominant these pitchers have been. So Reed Detmers strikeout prop is something I'd be intrigued by, and then under in the first 5, and I couldn't talk over the full game under like Scott mentioned as well. Currently, there is an 8 on DraftKings right now. Last game that has betting lines is going to be a 7:10 Eastern start between the Cleveland Guardians and the Boston Red Sox. Currently for this game, I am seeing starting pitchers of Ben Lively for the for the Cleveland Guardians, and Tanner Houck gets a start here for the Boston Red Sox here. Scott, Lively versus Houck. What do you got for this game?
yeah, Lively, one of my favorite pitchers. Not because he's good, but he's made us a lot of money over the last couple of years because he is really, really bad. At least he was when he was with the Reds. We'll see what happens, but I gotta go with Houck here. The Red Sox aren't once again maybe the most talented team in the world, but they've been competitive. They're over 500. Lively last year, 4-7, 5.38 ERA. He was really, really bad. I think I'm not speaking alone here saying that we made a lot of money fading Ben Lively. And I don't know if Mal officially made a Ben Lively day. He might have, because I think he kept fading him the entire year. I'm going to take Boston. I think Houck's been solid this season. Lively's a mess. He's coming off the IL too, so I don't know how sharp he's going to look in general. Give me Boston. I think this line's too cheap. Maybe the run line, but Ben Lively, I'm happy to see him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think that for this rotation of the Red Sox, Cutter Crawford has been absolutely fantastic. And like you mentioned, Tanner Houck has been solid. And I think that this is the time where these young guys, the Whitlocks of the world, the Tanner Houcks of the world, really have to step up. Especially with Nick Pivetta, who was actually pretty decent for this team when he started. But Tanner Houck coming off a very rough start, which was against the Angels, 5 and 2/3. He did allow 12 hits, 7 runs, 4 of them which were earned. But other than that, I mean, prior to the 2 starts, he was really good. 12 innings pitched, 7 hits, no earned runs. He did allow in those starts, and maybe it's a Fenway Park thing for Tanner Houck, but I think we see runs in this game. I mean, you mentioned Mid Lives is going to be his first start in a Guardians uniform, but again, last year he was just absolutely terrible. 4-7 with a 5.38 ERA when he was with the Reds then, and now getting the start here for the Cleveland Guardians. So I see runs in this game. Over 9 would be the look I would have in this game. I need to see Tanner Houck do it in Fenway Park before I can back him here. But over 9 would be the play here for me. All right, that is the last game that actually has betting lines for the schedule on Wednesday here. And let me double check here if no new lines popped up before we do get to our lock and dock. So we're still missing pitchers for the Milwaukee Brewers and also for the LA Dodgers. So no lines for those games right now as we're recording here. Scott, let's get into our lock and dog here for the Wednesday card. Let you lead it off here, man. What do you got for your lock and dog?
All right. So for the lock, I have to think of if I want to actually take a first five or I want to go with the full game here. I am definitely looking at that under in that Angels and Rays game, just based on how good those two pitchers have looked so far this season. I think I'm going to go first five, just on the premise of why would I want to back the bullpens if I don't have to, especially with the Angels, who their bullpen just has given nightmares to the fan base for years at this point. I'm looking at the actual first five for the total in that game and the Rays matchup. Sorry, just trying to find it. Should be around 4.5, I think.
For the first 5 innings, you said?
I don't think I'm going to find it. Yeah, I think it's still too early. But you said you found an 8, so if I can do the math there, that means the first 5 total should probably be either a 4 or a juice 4.5. So we'll meet somewhere in the middle. I like the first 5 under in that Rays Angels game. Do you have a price?
So there's a 4.5 minus 130 on the under for the first 5 on DraftKings.
Sure, I'll take that. Give me the first 5 under 4.5 in that game. Once again, Littell's been very good. Detmers has been very solid, and I still have questions about Tampa Bay's lineup and even the Angels. We know that Trout's been very good, but it feels like nobody else has really done much. Ward's actually been okay, so I'll take that back. But a lot of their lineup is still a lot of question marks, which I think is concerning. For the actual dog for this play, I thought about the Red Sox run line potentially, but I don't know if I actually want it. I think for this one, what do I want to go with? I mean, the Mets are favored. I'm not going to go with that. Blue Jays, no. Trying to think of what I want to go here. I don't mind potentially a strikeout parlay with Abbott and Miller, but I don't have lines on that, so I can't really give that out. What?
Braves run line?
I thought about it. You said Braves?
Yeah. There's plus 110 against JP France.
Yeah, I could go with the run line there. Maybe an all-team total I could go with as well. But
you got to back your team on the run line.
Once again, with the Yankees offense, I've not been overly impressed recently. So I am going to kind of stay away from it. I think I'm just going to go with the fade Ben Lively. I thought about maybe not going with it, but it's pretty tough to resist. I mean, Red Sox run line here is plus 145 against Lively. Plus
especially his first start this season too, right?
First start, he's off the IL. I thought about maybe the first 5 run line, but nah, I'll take the full game. Give me the full game Red Sox run line plus 145.
All right. All right. For my lock, either the over in the Cubs and Diamondbacks game or the Braves and the Astros. I think that 9 is a little conservative here for the Braves and the Astros. So I'll go with that. Talked about the struggles of JP France. If he struggles, his bullpen has been even worse for this Astros team. Case in point, Monday night where Josh Hader was able to get the Braves team total over the line by giving up 4 straight hits. Max Fried, I know, is coming off a great start against the Marlins, but Marlins have been one of the teams that really struggled generating any type of offense against left-handed pitching, where it's been the completely opposite for the Astros, who've been very consistent against left-handed pitching. That has carried over into this season as well. So I think they can tag Max Fried for a few here as well. So I think this number does get over the total of 9 between the Braves and the Astros. For my dog, I mean, it's got to be Paul Blackburn, man. I cannot back my guy.
I knew you were going to go there, so I was going to save that.
I have to, yeah. First 5-inning run line. Let me see what the price is on that. Let me see. They don't have it up just yet, but I'll just go full game here. I will be on. Oh wait, hold on. First 5-inning run line for the. Yeah. So the first 5-inning run line, A's minus half with Paul Blackburn is plus 154. If you just want to play the money line, that's at plus 114. So you're getting plus odds all 3 ways. If you want to go full game, money line, if you want to go first 5, couldn't talk you off of either one of those. But officially, I'll go with the full game plus 130 on the money line for the show. And then also it will split up a unit on that first 5 innings money line as well with Paul Blackburn. Again, hasn't given up an earned run thus far this season. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think that carries against his St. Louis Cardinals team here as well. So Paul Blackburn and the A's on the money line for me as my dog. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, once again, got a lot of NBA content because it is postseason time. I got tennis still doing my thing there a couple times a week. There was no 17-team tennis parlay there. First of all, it was a player parlay. Second of all, it didn't exist. But we've been doing very well in the lock and dog picks recently. Ended up sweeping 4 of the last 5 episodes. So can't complain. So hopefully that keeps rolling. But either way, find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio.
Yeah, you can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't already, did surpass 1,000 subscribers, so appreciate everybody that has subscribed. But if you haven't already, tell a friend about the MLB Gambling Podcast and leave us a rating and review as well if you haven't done so already. Truly appreciate if you guys could do that for us. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place for the usual schedule for the MLB Gambling Podcast. So look out for us then. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.